What makes a reason bad? How can your idea or your premise be a bad reason? Remember that an argument is a set of ideas where some are the premises. The premises lead to the conclusion. Usually there's one main ultimate conclusion. There's words that indicate this is the reason that's supposed to support the conclusion, and there's words that say this is the conclusion that are supposed to be supported by the premises. Your premises are the ideas that support, they're your reasons why, and the conclusion is what you ultimately want to get to, like the roof of a building supported by levels, which are the premises. Here's a conditional statement. It starts with the premise indicator, and the then is a conclusion indicator. This statement says, on the condition that you have the antecedent, you will get the conclusion, you will get the consequent. And by modus ponens, you have another premise B that the antecedent is true, then your conclusion is the consequent. If it is raining, then you should take an umbrella. The conclusion here, the consequent here, or the consequence of the antecedent here, is that you should take an umbrella. To get from the antecedent to the conclusion, we infer. We make an inference. It's a move in our mind. And to get from it's going to rain to take an umbrella, the inference involves assumptions in the background. Like, I don't want to get wet, because if it's not true, but I don't want to get wet, then I hear it's going to rain, I'm not going to take an umbrella because I want to get wet. So the assumption between these two ideas, it's going to rain and take an umbrella, is you don't want to get wet. Another totally different assumption is that when we say it's going to rain, we mean in your region, in your local area, not, hey, it's going to rain in South Africa. And since you're not in Johannesburg, you should, wait, why would you take an umbrella if it's raining in South Africa? You would only take an umbrella if it's going to rain in your area to not get wet, if you don't want to get wet. So there's a ton of assumptions we're making in our inferring from one idea to the next idea. That's something we should know. But let's say that conditional statement does apply to us, because we mean it's going to rain where we are, and we don't want to get wet, and our umbrella doesn't have a hole in it, and blah, blah, blah. So that first premise in this modus ponens is the conditional statement, which involves an antecedent and a consequent. If it's going to rain, then you should take an umbrella. That pink, the top part, is the antecedent. The blue is the consequent of the conditional statement. Then when we zoom out and get the whole argument, the second premise, the same thing in pink, is the antecedent of that conditional statement. But here it's an independent idea. It's the premise. It's premise 2 in this argument, that it's going to rain. So we put the antecedent as the second premise in this modus ponens, the mode of putting, and we necessarily get a conclusion which is true if the two premises are true. Because it's a modus ponens, it's a valid argument form. The conclusion, again, is take an umbrella. Argument is in somebody's head. That's what they're thinking that makes their body physically grab an umbrella before they go outside. So let's think about this reasoning being in Jack's head. So imagine Jack. Jack's conclusion is he's going to take an umbrella. The reason why is that he thinks it's going to rain. The reason why he thinks it's going to rain is because he looked at his weather app on his phone, because he's super cool and has all this technology, and technology has told him that there's a 100% chance of rain. So we're working backwards. And if you imagine the building analogy, this whole thing's turned upside down, because your conclusion's at the top and your premises are like levels that lead to the conclusion. But when we're writing the argument in a structural way, the conclusion's at the bottom. It's what you ultimately get to, but I don't know how you're thinking about it. Here it is in one way. The first step is that he looked at his weather app and saw that it says it's going to rain. From that, he inferred that it's going to rain. From that, he inferred that he should take an umbrella. Let's compare Jack's reasoning, his argumentation in his mind, to Jill. Jill, like Jack, is going to take an umbrella. And Jill, like Jack, is going to take an umbrella because Jill thinks it's going to rain. But the reason that Jack thinks it's going to rain and the reason that Jill thinks it's going to rain are different reasons. So see that in orange, and I'm sorry if you can't see colors well, but the first line underneath the person's name is orange. And for Jack, the underlying reasoning that eventually leads to the conclusion that he should take an umbrella is that it's from the weather app. The weather app says it's going to rain. But for Jill, the underlying reason why she's ultimately going to take an umbrella is that she had a bad dream last night. She thought her day was going to be ruined because she dreamt that it rained. So she dreamt that it was raining, and when she wakes up, she thinks, oh, it's going to rain. And because she thinks it's going to rain, she's going to take an umbrella. So Jack and Jill have different arguments in their head. They have the same conclusion, right? Jack and Jill are both going to leave the house, and they're both going to have an umbrella because they both concluded the same thing. They both, for different reasons, thought they should take an umbrella.
Hi, we were wondering, what made you take an umbrella?
I thought it was going to rain.
Hi, we were wondering, what made you take an umbrella?
I thought it was going to rain.
Right. And what made you think it was going to rain?
The weather app said 100% chance today.
Right. And what made you think it was going to rain?
I had a dream that it was going to rain. Maybe the difference between Jack and Jill is that one's using a priori reasoning and the other one is using a posteriori reasoning.
No.
So Jill had a dream and Jack checked his weather app. The dream is an experience. So if you have a conclusion that is the result of an experience, that's not a priori reasoning. Jack checked his weather app, and his reasoning is also, like Jill, who's inferring from her dream, an experience. So that's not a priori either. They both have a conclusion inferred from an experience. They are both reasoning a posteriori. What you dream is so divorced from reality that you cannot make conclusions about reality based on what you dream. There is no guarantee that your dream has anything to do with reality. So Jill, who draws the conclusion that she should take an umbrella from her idea that her dream is telling her what to do in wake life, is bad reasoning. Whereas the app is offering the output that it does based on research of reality. So it makes good sense to draw a conclusion about reality from data gathered from reality. So Jack has a good reason, whereas Jill has a bad reason to take an umbrella. That's because, I think, Jill has a bad reason, whereas Jack has a good reason to think it's going to rain. Your dreams are bad reasons in your argument about what to do in waking life. What makes something, a premise or an idea, a bad reason is that it does not actually support the conclusion that it's trying to or pretending to support.